Today for Devotions with Daniella, we are finishing up the second book of Daniella. Well, not quite finishing it, but we are in the final chapters. This is about growing up in the Children of God cult and then going into the cult of the U.S. Army. We are in Afghanistan. I am the senior intelligence officer for a battalion of helicopter pilots, and there is a sexual harassment case that has gone witch hunt, and I am being accused, or I'm expected to accept a letter of reprimand that says I helped foment an environment of sexual harassment and abuse for women in my unit. And I've told them my whole background story and how that's ridiculous, and asked them to please send me home since I'm already being fired from my job. They agreed to send me home. But the next morning, when I opened my eyes after another night awake more than asleep, I couldn't see. I stretched my hands out in front of my face, waving and snapping my fingers to be sure I wasn't dreaming. Nothing. Actual blackness, like the wires connecting the camera of my eye to the machinery of my brain, had been pinched shut. Panic rose in my chest as I struggled to keep breathing and tried to review my options. I was alone in my shipping container, without a roommate. Nobody would accidentally find me. I slowly placed my feet on the ground, completely blind, and my whole body trembled. I couldn't think straight. Every thought in my head seemed to float away before it could land and make any sense. Words danced around in my head, and I knew when they came out they would be unintelligible. I picked up my phone, typing in the passcode from memory, unsure if I got it right, and pressed the dial button, trying to remember the last person I called. "Help me," I croaked, and then a sentence I knew never to say to any man while deployed, certainly not someone subordinate. "Please come to my room." By the time my friend and colleague, Chief Warrant Officer 3 Apollo Simmons, banged on the door of my room, things had started to get a little better. My vision had returned in swirls to my right eye, and the pressure in my head felt like it was relaxing slightly. My breasts were contracting painfully in what I would later learn is a milk release signal, usually in response to a hungry newborn baby. I was able to stumble to the door, still clad in pajamas, and tell him I needed a hospital. My buddy, Mr. Simmons, an airborne, air assault, ranger-qualified infantry guy turned pilot, always good in a crisis, asked no questions and set to work. Calling my intelligence office, he enlisted Lieutenant Wilson to get a van and meet us at the barracks, and we set off for the clinic, where my friend Captain Terry Weber, the unit's physician assistant, was waiting to see us. When I told her about how my vision had disappeared completely and about the pressure in my head and breasts, she was more concerned than usual. A quick eye exam told us all that my vision was completely gone in my left eye. I couldn't even see the largest E at the top of the chart. I begged for my usual shot of Imitrex, the migraine medication that kept me going, and orders back to bed, but she shook her head. "Not this time. Daniella, something's wrong. You need a CT scan, now." There's nothing like walking through a war hospital with an invisible injury. I felt the smallest I'd ever felt in my life. As the vision in my left eye pulsed in and out, making me feel like someone was trying, poorly, to focus a camera lens inside my brain, I was led to the doctor. When he heard my symptoms, he tisked sympathetically and sent me straight past the eye station to CT, before turning his harried expression back to a group of Marines brought in with shrapnel visibly embedded in their arms, legs, and chest plates, who were laughing and joking about their close call with death. A few hours after the CT scan, I was back at my desk trying to focus on work, but I couldn't stop thinking about going home, getting out. Everyone who handled me that morning expected to find something bad, so it wasn't surprising when Terry called me to come in as soon as I could. "They found some lesions around your pituitary, as we suspected," she said. "There's some brain swelling too, so in my opinion, this needs immediate attention. I've already got the medical side of folks working on your evacuation to the hospital in Germany. I'll let you tell the boss yourself if you'd like." I numbly nodded my assent and then began laughing, though it came out almost like barking. Terry looked at me quizzically, probably wondering how much the swelling had already affected me. "You have to admit," I mumbled, "self-diagnosing a brain tumor is pretty awesome." I'd been doing my own research for months, scouring the internet for whatever I could find about my symptoms, and had circled in on them being a pituitary issue. My blood had been tested after the lactation started, and I was being monitored for the ever-increasing headaches. But until that moment, the doctors hadn't found anything concrete. It explains a lot, she confirmed, and at least now you'll get treatment. That has got to be a relief. She leaned in to hand me some heavy drugs that would hopefully prevent any further swelling in my brain. Then, quietly, under her breath, so only I could hear her, she said, "Daniella, you're getting out of here. Just hang on to that." Medical evacuations happen quickly in a war zone. I would be on a plane in a matter of hours to a day or two. When Tom informed his commander about the situation, he was given permission to see me, telling him to go with God, man, as he hopped on the next helicopter. And then I was in Tom's arms, and for once, nobody cared. Turns out, you're allowed hugs, even at war, when people think you might be dying. The next day, I was on a medical evacuation plane. I sat amidst the friendly group of wounded Marines, chanting Tom's parting words like a mantra that could somehow help me. If there is a God, I know he didn't wait all this time to let me find you, just to take you away. You can get signed copies of Uncultured attached here, or listen to me read it to you anywhere you get your audiobooks.